Okay, today's day 5 with the common cold. I am get some water. In case I need it. So my appetite is slowly coming back. So by appetite, I just mean kind of desire to eat food and what sounds good and that kind of thing. So which is kind of nice. It started getting better a little bit last night, which is very nice for it wanting to eat and it feeling good to eat, so weaning out of the pushing myself to eat, so that's nice. I didn't get to picking up peanut shells. I think it was 2 days ago. That was kind of my goal if the weather cleared up. The weather didn't clear up. Feeding the squirrels and going out for that time has been enough energy exertion. My energy levels have taken a bit of a hit. So there's a strength training routine I do 6 to 7 days a week normally, and with the cold I haven't been able to do that, so I tried to do it yesterday and I just did arm strength training and I was sweating and breathing really hard and it was really hard for me, so I only gotten half of my strength training. So I sometimes with the cold I'll get kind of a surge of energy and it'll just kind of return me to my normal energy levels, and sometimes I need to kind of step up, so 15 minutes one day, add 15 minutes, add 15 minutes, add 15 minutes, that kind of thing. That's what I mean by stepping, so gradually increasing what I'm doing. So I'm just gonna kind of play it by day and see how it goes, maybe do the arm strength training again, and if that goes better, add in ab strength training. Because I'm still in boxing training mode. It's a long-term commitment, and I'm in the weight reduction component. I'm not focused, since it's not weight gain, I'm kind of thinking of it as weight reduction while on a cold is kind of, the first thing I need to do is stay healthy, and stay healthy at least in terms of my eating levels, not dropping down to kind of levels that would make me deficient in nutrients that my body still needs. And so, yeah, staying healthy in the eating aspect as much as I can, and then getting myself back to healthy in terms of energy levels and stuff like that. So, I don't know, the worst, it's gotten a lot better. The getting through kind of the not so intense energy level reduction in energy levels and stuff like that. I slowly push myself out of that, but the worst is kind of over. I'm hoping it doesn't come back for a second resurgence kind of thing. And so that's an update with my common cold. Yeah, I think there was something else I was going to mention in this video, and I'm completely, I remember. Epiphany. No, I had an epiphany last night. I can be an intense person. I can also be a very relaxed person. And so I was thinking with the Boundary Trail in Washington State, the biggest problem, so I have a car and this trail is a bit of a drive, and especially the road to Slate Pass, which is one of the ends of the trail. It's a one-directional trail in northern Washington State, and my concern is, so my mom doesn't do well with cliff edges at the side of the road, and the road to Slate Pass is the highest commercial road, or not commercial road, but like road open to anybody in Washington State. And so, I've seen pictures and videos of it, and it's a very steep drop off, so I know if I drove my car to the trailhead, where the trail starts, and then had my parents come pick me up or something like that, I don't know if my mom would make the drive. So I looked into other transportation, and they do have a shuttle I can call, and they'll do like, it's priced by mile, so it'd be it's a good price, so it wouldn't be fairly pricey, but it is a bit of a drive from the trail end to the trailhead. So park my car at the trailhead, and I would need to make sure I could do that with the Forest Service, the U.S. Forest Service, National Forest Service, and United States of America Forest Service, National Forest Service, reiterating that for myself. And so that's an option. I also realized though, if that's going on the approximately 9 mile a day average, so if I took 9 days and it's approximately 80 miles, that's just under 9 miles a day per average, which I can do more than that. I've thru-hiked before, I've day hiked before, I've done a bunch of geology field work that requires 30-pound bags, kind of thing like that, and that's over rough terrain. So the nice thing about trails is the trail's already there. In geology, there may be no trails in the area you're working, so it's very rough terrain. And so 15 miles a day for geology fieldwork, not only am I out there working, making maps, taking measurements, stuff like that, identifying the rocks, which is taking pictures, that kind of stuff, documenting what I'm writing in my field book. So it's a lot more time intensive, but the actual hiking and physical exertion is a lot more than just hiking. It's not walking on a trail, it's I have to figure out what's here and there is no trail here. And so that's a lot more difficult than just hiking. So I think there's a bit of, I need to be, I can cover ground very quickly on just trail. And so I guess it kind of comes in with the bag weight. If the bag is super heavy, then that'll slow me down. I know from experience, when I was out in geology field camp, we were hiking a lot one day, and there were these really cool rocks, and it was in a place we were allowed to take rocks. We were not usually allowed to take rocks, and so we were allowed to, and they had these, like, my favorite mineral is plagioclase. It's the one my heart beats for, even if people don't find it very exciting. It's plagioclase, and they had these rocks. So I'm a volcanologist, and they were volcanic rocks, and the plagioclase had massive sieve texture, which is like something that we can see under a microscope if we slice the rocks really thin. They're called a thin section, it's 30 microns thick, kind of thing. And so this, yeah, it's a measurement, and like length measurement, kind of, yeah, and so, or thickness measurement in this case, and of how thick the rock is. And then we put it under a microscope, and it looks like a sieve, like something you might, like kind of like a colander if you're making pasta and rinsing it out. There's a bunch of holes in it. So the crystals will get like that, and it's a texture that's formed during volcanic eruption and in volcanic activity more specifically, or subsurface activity, and which would be kind of magmatic activity, because before lava is erupted, it is called magma. So beneath the surface of the earth, it's magma. On the surface, it's lava. And so these crystals were huge, and I could see this texture in the crystals without having to cut it and put it under a microscope. And that is how amazing it was. And so I took these rocks, and it turned out to be about 15 to 20 pounds of rocks. So in addition to already having a bag, I literally took 15 to 20 pounds of rocks and put them in my backpack and continued hiking. And it slowed me down a lot. So and that kind of became a joke, is how do you slow Tanis down? Just put rocks in her bag, literally. But they didn't even need to do it. That's the joke, is I do it to myself. And so yeah, I know that more weight, speaking from experience, does slow me down. And so I think that's kind of where I'm like, okay, 9 miles a day with a 20-30 pound pack, I can do 15 miles easy. I just don't know, if my pack's a bunch heavier, what my mileage will be. And I'm also in better shape in boxing. Well, actually, I'll pose that to myself as a hypothesis for this hike, is I will see, I think I came up with, so what's the epiphany? This is a very long way of getting to the epiphany I had last night, is I could out and back the hike to make it like kind of a round trip hike. Because my mom is afraid of heights and this road is the highest, I could hike from the trailhead to Slate Pass and then do it again. So that would be a much longer hike. It'd be the difference between 80 miles and 160 miles. But I wouldn't have to worry about cell phone reception at the end of the trail, and if I couldn't get a hold of the shuttle, or if something went wrong when I was hiking and I scheduled the shuttle in advance, if I couldn't make the time and then my cell phone's not working and I couldn't communicate that kind of thing. So it eliminates that concern of kind of figuring out transportation back to my car at the end of the trail, or having my parents come and pick me up if they drop me off at the trailhead or something like that. So my epiphany was, and I don't know if this will happen or not, but would be driving to the trailhead, leaving my car there, making sure I can do that. I've heard you can. Need to contact the Forest Service directly about that, the National Forest Service about that, and then go out, hike to Slate Pass from the trailhead, and then come back. And so that's 160 miles. And so if I did, say, 16 miles per day average, that would take 10 days. I don't know if I will go faster or slower than that, though. So that would be a much higher per day average than 9 miles per day. And as an average, I think kind of the concern, which I know I can do. So I've done that kind of mileage in the past with like a 30-pound bag. The problem becomes packing the food for that long. That adds a significant amount of weight, and so and if I wanted to take a stove and stuff like that, it's just kind of, and I'm a heavy packer to begin with, so I'm heavyweight, not ultralight in terms of my backpacking gear, and so just kind of, I'm not sure where I'll end in mileage, but that's kind of my hypothesis, not a hypothesis, kind of is my guess, is my, and hypothesis is an educated guess, and so my guess is that my boxing training is intense enough that I'll be able to do a higher average for the entire trail if I do the 160 mile trail, a higher average per day than 16 miles per day. But we'll see. Boxing is the only sport I'm focusing on right now in terms of training. So I will, if I do this boundary trail in the foreseeable future, which I'll give like 1, 2, maybe 3 year time frame, boxing is my primary sport, so I will be hiking it as a boxer. And so I guess there's that, my hypothesis is that I will be more fit than I have been in the past as like a swimmer and a runner and stuff, or walker, like I'll just walk a lot kind of thing. And so that's what I'm testing, is if I am more fit and in shape as a boxer, then my mileage will be higher than in the past, and I would guess approximately 16 miles per day or higher. And that's just as an amateur boxer. That's not even as like professional boxer. So we'll see how in shape does training for boxing and practicing boxing and boxing make someone to thru-hike 160 miles. And that only, I mean, it kind of is relevant, but for the situation, if I do, or the circumstance, or the scenario where I do the 80-mile trail just one way, then I'll slow it down a lot. I'm not going to push myself, like, it's a very scenic hike, versus if I do it, I would probably take about 9 days, and then 160 miles if I did out and back, about the same amount of time, add on a day as a guess, 10 days. There's no resupply out there. There are no towns, there are no roads, there's no way to get additional food. And so what that means, no resupply means I have to pack everything with me for 10 days. I don't get to go to a town and buy more supplies and stuff like that. So it requires being very smart with one's resources. Yeah, but we'll see. If I'm doing the 160 mile out and back, the boxing training becomes more relevant versus the 80 mile. The dominant mode for the hike might be more like wildlife photography and just slowing way down and seeing what's around me and getting some good photographs and stuff like that. It's not hard to slow down to that pace of an average of 9 miles per day. Just do some photography, or maybe you just hike at that pace naturally, or maybe you're a geologist making maps or just looking at rocks and enjoying the scenery and taking in the geology. That can also be a lot slower than 9 miles per day, speaking from experience. Can spend a whole day, a whole week at a really good area. So yeah, that's a update with the common cold. I might check in a few days, we'll see. And then again, to kind of give a status update with the common cold and my epiphany / update with thinking about how I'm gonna hike or the Boundary Trail in Washington State. And that would be my first, if I do it, would be my first solo through hike. So yeah, discussing the possibility of maybe making it a 160-mile hike by going full out and back.